And welcome back into Sunday Sit Down Time. With us now is Power Mizzou's publisher, Gabe DeArmond, joining us via Zoom once again. Hopefully the next time it won't be via Zoom, but we appreciate you. At least this is a little bit easier for you.
It is. Eventually we'll talk to people in person again, but we'll see when that is.
I hope so. Well, the NFL draft was in person this year. That was nice to see. 5 Mizzou players getting drafted this year, the most since 2015. Are you surprised by that? Is that what you expected? And what do you think that, kind of says about the state of the Mizzou program?
Well, going in, I thought it would be 3 or 4. I wasn't sure on Joshua Bledsoe or Larry Roundtree, but good to see they both found places. And Bledsoe, I think I forget, 4th or 5th round, and Roundtree was in the 6th. So they obviously weren't on the cusp of not getting picked. I did talk to a couple people that know a little bit more about the draft than I do, and they said, one thing is that there were a lot of people that might normally have been in this draft that went back to school, so that made the pool a little bit shallower. So that was good for guys who were going pro, having a little bit better chance to hear their names called. And I think that having guys picked is important. That's obviously one barometer of how much talent you have. I think what this weekend showed us is Barry Odom was actually probably better at identifying talent and recruiting than Missouri fans gave him credit for when he was here. Now, obviously didn't do enough with that talent, but there was some talent here on the roster. And, the most interesting part was the last 4 guys picked. I mean, nobody really wanted them. Those 4 guys had 2 Power 5 offers outside of Missouri.
Out of all those guys that were drafted this weekend, who do you think will have the best pro career?
I mean, I think Gillespie's got the most tools. If we're, accepting Nick Bolton from the mix. I mean, I think Bolton is pretty clearly the best pro and the best prospect in this group. But of those other 4 guys, I just look at Gillespie, and he, to me, looks the most like an NFL football player at his position. Now, I think Larry Roundtree is a guy that can hang around for a long time. I don't think he's ever probably a starting running back in the NFL, but I think he's a guy that can help a team, can play on special teams, and his work ethic will keep him around. Borum, look, I don't know a thing about Chicago's offensive line and what that's going to be like. Josh Bledsoe, again, a guy that's going to have to get it done on special teams. But if I look at the 4, I think Gillespie is the guy that I say most likely is going to be, a long-term pro.
Well, let's get to Nick Bolton. Your Kansas City Chiefs drafted him in the 2nd round. Taking off your reporter hat, putting your Chiefs fan hat on, what do you think of the pick?
It's interesting because when you just watch the draft as a fan, the big one is the 1st round, right? Well, the Chiefs basically drafted Orlando Brown in the 1st round, so their draft was pretty much different than we expected it to be because they had their offensive line kind of set. And, it's not a team with a lot of holes, so linebacker made some sense there. I think the goal for Nick, at least from a Chiefs perspective, probably is go in, get on the field, be a 1-down, 2-down type guy your rookie year. But they've still got Anthony Hitchens there, and they play a lot of 2 linebacker sets. They drafted Willie Gay last year. So maybe if you fast forward a year, Hitchens, the contract may be up, and then maybe there's a little bit more, hey, Nick Bolton's a starter in year 2. He's not a guy I expect to jump in and start year 1. Now, that's the advantage, right, of joining one of those teams that's picking late in the draft. It means they're probably pretty good and don't have a lot of holes, and you might get a chance at a Super Bowl ring. The downside is you might have to wait a little bit longer for playing time. But, Nick is a guy that we've all gotten to know. He's a great kid off the field, and he's going to work hard, and a pick that any fan of any team probably would like. One of the guys that we've enjoyed definitely getting to know the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, what about the current roster that Mizzou has right now? Out of the current roster of players, who do you think is the best NFL draft prospect moving forward?
Yeah, I was kind of looking at guys that could get drafted next year for something I'm going to do tomorrow, and I guess Tyler Beatty is probably the best option next year. Now, again, is he an NFL every down back? No, but NFL teams don't really have those anymore. A lot of them tend to split up between 2 and 3 guys, and so he's a guy that can definitely find a role.
On the Mizzou basketball front, Cuonzo Martin still got those 2 open scholarships left. It's been a little quiet around Mizzou hoops of late. Do you see those scholarships getting given out, or I guess they've probably been given out, but taken anytime soon?
I mean, I think one of them has to be. I just think this team has to have a guy who can score in the front court. You know, and Cuonzo pretty much said that the last time we talked to him. Now, who that is, I don't know. I mean, every day we go on, it gets a little more likely that it might be a guy that everybody goes, okay, I don't know a lot about him, which doesn't mean he can't be a good player. But I think a lot of the big names that we had tied Missouri to have found a place. So I'd love to tell you I had any idea who it would be, but I do think they have to use one of them. I'm not sure you have to use the other one. You don't. We've seen the last few years, there's not a lot of good in taking a guy just to take a guy. But if this team doesn't find a forward or a big guy who is capable of scoring a little bit, I mean, I think you got to be pretty pessimistic going into next season.
Well, we're never pessimistic when Gabe DeArmond comes on the show. Always excited to have you on. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time on this Sunday.
All right, Andrew. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right, we'll be right back after this.